Donald Trump has been proven right again. He told us a long time ago that Joe Biden was not in charge of the White House, that there was a group of other people called the Deep State that ultimately made the decisions, and now the media is recognizing that. This article comes from Ben Smith over at Semaphore. He says, a scared Biden aide is now sounding the alarm about how this process works. We know Joe Biden does not have a brain by his own admission and hasn't performed well at debates and interviews recently. So is he in charge of foreign policy? Is he in charge of economic policy? Do these decisions even land on his desk? The answer is no. So here's some background on this. It sounds like this is a whistleblower, somebody who just says, I've had enough, and they called this journo to make a report. So he says, all right, it was midday 4th of July. I got a call from this government official. This person has regular access to the West Wing. They called, they're freaking out. They said they'd reached a breaking point and they wanted to sound the alarm. Now, they didn't want to identify themselves, but after a bunch of background, they said, look, I know what I'm talking about. And here is the assertion from this person. They tell us it's unclear, even to some people inside the West Wing policy process, so the people who are making key decisions about the future of the country, which policy issues even reach the president and how they do. So issues pop up. There's an emergency. How does it make its way up to Joe? Major decisions, they go into an opaque circle that includes White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients. That guy does talk to the president regularly. They go into this circle and they return concluded. Is Joe Biden even involved in those circles? The big exception to this pattern is foreign policy, where other people are involved. Now, the pattern had already been a topic of discussion and curiosity among high-powered aides who work there. The rituals of paperwork and paper flow are technical, but they are surprised by the lack of briefings to the president, to Joe. It's all being decided without Joe, and of readouts from consultations with the president, and the worry about decisions being made without him. Being made without him. We might call that a deep state. We might call that a cabal of unelected bureaucrats who are not the president, who are making decisions without the president. And it's not us just saying that ourselves. Nate Silver, Democratic pollster super guru, is quoting this and saying, oh, wait a minute. The deep state is real? Yeah, exactly. As we've been saying for a long time, Joe Biden doesn't have the capacity to be the president or to run the executive branch. That's why it's a problem. It's not people just making fun of him because he has a stutter. No, it's a much bigger problem. 1/3 of our entire government is not under a functional leader, which is a big problem, which means other people are making those decisions. White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients, never heard him stand in front of a debate and argue for votes from Americans, but he's making decisions that should be made by the president? Doesn't seem appropriate at all. And so the article continues, said, I'm super proud of our policies, but I'm talking to you right now because I'm incredibly upset and I'm scared for the country, and I would like to do what I can. Says the Biden White House runs policy through a tight inner circle, tighter than the sprawling decades of Clinton or early Obama years. Says White House officials furiously rejected any hint that the president isn't in charge. There's also wide reporting that he's been involved in things like Ukraine and Gaza. They say, get out of here, okay? Biden's in the middle of everything. He signs off on everything. The deputy chief of staff said, many of us sat with him as he's made hundreds of decisions. Nobody's freelancing around at all. But there are other people who do make a bunch of decisions. We have Jared Bernstein, said Biden makes decisions on everything, from student debt relief to 301 housing policy, said he sweats every detail of everything that we see. And when Andrew Bates, the White House spokesman, was emailed about this, said your single source's claim is contradicted by a lot of other evidence, okay? Joe Biden makes decisions all the time. So there's a bunch of questions, but according to the source, they say that there is a panic inside the Democratic Party. It's running so deep right now. Even inside the White House and even inside the West Wing, not everyone is sure about how this is operating. Is Joe in charge? Who the heck knows? We do know that they've lied to us about all sorts of things. We talked earlier in the week about how Karine lied about a doctor's appointment that the president had. He had a checkup after that debate because some people were saying, Is his brain functional, or has that broken in various bits? Well, it turns out that there is a log that shows that the president met with a Parkinson's disease specialist in the White House. And this is all now coming to light, courtesy of the New York Post and John Levine. Sharing this one, says a top Washington, D.C. neurologist had a meeting with Biden's personal doctor at the White House earlier this year. They got the visitor logs. They did a cross-reference, and they found this guy, Dr. Kevin Kennard. He's a Parkinson's disease expert from Walter Reed Medical Center. He met with Dr. Kevin O'Connor and 2 others at the White House residence on January 17th, which emerged after questions about his mental capacity. Dr. John Atwood is also a cardiologist at Walter Reed, was also in the 5 p.m. meeting. And so they're meeting with the doctor. Kennard met with Dr. Kevin O'Connor to diagnose Joe. And if he's not well, he can get well if there's a remedy for it. But shouldn't the American people know about the incapacity of the president so that we know that there's a contingency plan in place? If he can be restored, and if he can't, well, then we have to have a decision and a discussion about that. But they don't want to do that. They want to hide that. The 4th person who's also been there has not been identified in the logs from that day. When Biden was at the White House, he hosted a special event for Ukraine funding, of course. And that's a big question. How much exploitation is happening of Joe Biden? If everybody is bringing him these stories about what needs to be done in Ukraine or how he's performing in the polls, Joe Biden might be operating with limited information, and he might be saying things that are being interpreted as yeses when they're nos, or he may not even know. Kennard is an authority on Parkinson's who worked at Walter Reed. Since 2012, he served as a neurology specialist at the White House, and he's published a bunch of stuff. It's highly likely that they were there talking about Joe Biden's capacity. O'Connor has been Biden's official physician since he took office. His most important job every day is saying, "Good morning, Mr. President," just to get the commander-in-chief off on the right track. He says good morning to him every day. He gave Biden a clean bill of health. The physical included a neurological exam, which specifically ruled out Parkinson's, he said at the time. He said that Biden had a post-debate verbal check-in with O'Connor, and he's the doctor. Says Jackson, who has never treated Biden, claimed the president's doctor, along with the first family, were trying to cover up his health. Says they're trying to cover it up. Kevin O'Connor is like a son to Jill Biden. She loves him. It's crazy. He was in that job on day one because they could trust Kevin to cover it up for everybody. And Jackson has for years warned that Biden's mental health has been declining. We all saw it happen in real time. And so all these people are coming to the White House. What can they pump him up with? What kind of drugs will be sufficient to have him limp through the remainder of his presidency? Sadly, over 500,000 Americans are afflicted by this. And we're not making fun or trying to diminish the real serious problem of Parkinson's or dementia or any other mental incapacities that might befall us as we all age. But we're not all going to be presidents and have to respond to massive disasters at 3 a.m. in the morning. So Joe Biden and the White House, their medical cover-up continues, and it is something that will never come to light if they can help it. If they can just limp Joe Biden past the election and win, they'll do that because it worked for them in 2020. They were able to cover up Joe's incapacity, keep him in the basement, in the bunker for the entire campaign. And then their get out the vote with the help of the CIA rigging was enough to push them past the finish line. They'll see if they can do it again this year. We'll be here, of course, to continue to cover it. But now, while that Biden madness continues on, I want to tell you about a company doing some interesting things in the decentralized finance, or the DeFi space. You've probably heard the term a bit more recently, especially as we talk more and more about Bitcoin and crypto in the 2024 campaigns. DeFi Technologies is a company that provides traditional investors with secure, regulated access to a diverse portfolio of digital assets and decentralized finance, or DeFi, protocols. Through their ETPs, or exchange-traded products, they make investing in digital assets as straightforward as trading any other security, right from your brokerage account. But what are ETPs? Exchange Traded Products, or ETPs, are financial instruments that track the value of digital assets and decentralized finance protocols. These ETPs provide investors with a seamless way to gain exposure to the performance of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a variety of other digital assets without the need to directly purchase and manage these assets themselves. By trading on regulated stock exchanges, DeFi Technologies and their ETPs offer a transparent, secure, and efficient means of investing in the growing digital asset market, all through a familiar and trusted investment vehicle. The company generates revenue through trading and management fees, staking, lending earnings, strategic partnerships, and acquisitions within the digital asset and DeFi sectors. In Q1 of 2024, DeFi Technologies completed the acquisition of a private research firm called Reflexivity Research LLC. It's a company co-founded by crypto gurus Anthony Pompliano and Will Clemente, and it provides high-quality research in the crypto space. And in June of this year, DeFi Technologies also announced its new business line called DeFi Alpha, a specialized arbitrage trading desk which, according to a press release, has generated an additional $83.4 million for the company, and it comes from low-risk arbitrage trades. That left the company sitting with around $50 million cash on hand and 110 Bitcoin when they announced their stock buyback plan in June of this year, which is set to run through 2025. Here's an excerpt from a 2024 quarterly call where Russell Starr, the head of capital markets and former CEO of Trillium Gold, explains why the company did their stock buyback.
Look, guys, if our share, Ollie already answered this, but if we continue to be, if people can't figure out how cheap this is and how much of an opportunity it is to buy it, we would not be a good or smart management team not to buy our stock back at 1/6 the reasonable valuation that any other company would be trading at. And that's miners, Galaxy, any of these other crypto entities that are trading at many multiples higher than we are.
DeFi Technologies also focuses on diversified digital asset exposure. While Bitcoin remains a significant part of their portfolio, it only accounts for 51%. This allows them to offer broader exposure, tapping into the very big, estimated $2.4 trillion DeFi and Web3 market. Led by a team of industry experts, including pioneers in blockchain technology and the digital asset space, DeFi Technologies is well positioned to navigate and capitalize on the rapidly evolving digital and crypto landscape. You may know Eric Jackson, a renowned AI and machine learning driven tech fund manager at EMJ Capital. He posted on X saying DeFi Technologies is poised to be the next Carvana. He explains DeFi Technologies operates 23 crypto-related ETPs in Europe with $620 million in assets under management as of May 31st. And says, together with their yield revenues, that's a combined revenue run rate of $142 million a year. He points out that Bloomberg projects DeFi Technologies will achieve $104 million in revenues and $81 million in net income for 2024, with substantial growth expected in the following year. Combined with their strategic share buyback, strong cash position, and potential geographic expansion into the Middle East and Asia, DeFi Technologies could significantly enhance its value in the months and years to come. With wholly owned subsidiaries and joint ventures like Valor Inc. and strategic partnerships with industry leaders, DeFi Technologies is staying at the forefront of what's happening now and in the future. If you are interested in doing your homework on this company and learning more about the DeFi and crypto space, be sure to check out the links in the description below to see how DeFi Technologies Inc. is transforming the financial system.